pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Next item on the agenda is public comment. School patrons are given the opportunity to address the school board regarding items that are not on the agenda. All patrons will be asked to state their name for the record. While the board appreciates feedback from the public in this forum, board members will not comment on or discuss topics brought up by speakers at this time. Is there anyone here for public comment? Anyone here for public comment? Anyone here for public comment? There being none, we will move on to our program review tonight, which is the Activities Director, Megan Chatterton.
Rachel, did the remote work?
It started to and then it stopped. So it could have been operator error.
I'm here for your backup.
Okay, I'll just give you a signal. All right. Well, good evening, board members and Superintendent Shane. I'm very excited to have the opportunity tonight to just kind of give you a brief update on activities and a snapshot of where our year is currently and kind of where we are going. So just a few kind of updates here. In August, we hosted PCA. They came in and did a workshop for our district coaches. PCA stands for Positive Coaching Alliance. And this was a workshop just for our coaches to kind of network together, but also talk about some of the main elements of the PCA workshops. And so things like positive interactions. So I'm just going to give a very specific example that is kind of actionable for our coaches to be able to use, is that once you give kind of a feedback or a criticism or a critique, it really should be matched with 5 positive interactions. And so helping the coaches just to understand how you can build that into your practice, how that can be something that is whole team, not just the coach interactions. And so I think that was a really great experience for our coaches. We got a lot of really great feedback for that. And so we're looking forward to being able to kind of implement that across the board. Just last week, I was able to take 10 10th graders to the Wright County Conference Leadership Summit. This is something that is in conjunction with the other Wright County Conference schools. And so they got to kind of intermingle with some different peers from different sports, different schools across the conference. This year, they had Greg Berge come in, who is the principal at Lake City, and he's also is the head boys basketball coach there. But he does a ton with his leadership kind of consultation business, and the kids really enjoyed their time. They got a lot of really great feedback from that, and so that was fun to listen to them kind of on the bus ride back to see what they can bring back to Delano and help implement with their team. In September, we hosted Hans Skalstad, a sports psychologist, to work with our athletes kind of on mental fitness. He came in and presented to any of our athletes in all 3 of our seasons. We're welcome to join that. And then the last one is just a little bit more logistical. This is the first year of our section realignment with the State High School League. So you might notice that our teams, while most of them stayed in the same section, there are some different competition or some different teams that moved in or out. The biggest difference in that section realignment is girls tennis moved to a 3-class system. So instead of being with the Prior Lakes and the Eden Prairies and the Wayzatas of the world, we are with schools that are a little bit more matched to us in Class 2. So that's just something to look forward to there. Our participation numbers this fall have remained fairly steady from previous years. We're at 320, and that does not include participants in the fall play, just because we are just getting rolling with auditions and getting the crew and the cast of that decided. While the numbers remained steady, we did have a few programs that were impacted a little bit with the dynamics of 9th grade governance. So we did drop the JV girls soccer team for this year due to registration numbers. This new 9th grade governance requires that what used to be kind of the makeup of the C teams could no longer participate non-MSHSL teams and MSHSL teams. So we had some of those younger kids elect to continue to play club and then will join us as they get a little bit older. So while numbers remained the same, it just was a little bit interesting switch to previous years. So new for this year, something that we were pretty excited about during the 24-25 school year, I kind of took the year to work through all the bits and pieces. I tried to look at it from a lens of a new student coming in or from a seventh grader. What is the information that they need to know about activities and combining that into one handbook? And so our hope with this was to really enhance our communication, but also to get some alignment across our program. And while a lot of the information we compiled was things that were, here or established previous to me, there were some new things, and then there were some things that we were just able to clean up that maybe have changed. And so that now is posted on the website, a version for our families and our students, which is just kind of a short one. And then we also have a much longer, much more detailed one that is available to our coaches. And it's anywhere from how our programs are outlined, if it's a 7-12 program, if it's a 9-12 program, and then all the way in depth to how many registrations for the coaches clinic do we pay for. Again, just really hoping to kind of have that alignment across our programs. And then taking it one step further in 25, 26, I've asked all of our head coaches to come up with a handbook just for their programs, again, to really enhance that communication. And I think that that was well received at our fall PAC meeting, so that's exciting. And then this next one has been really kind of a fun endeavor. Last year, we really tried to ramp up our presence on social media to highlight our student athletes and our programs and the incredible things that these kids are doing. And so I've teamed up with Jen Kazin, has been a rock star, and she's kind of taken the lead on starting a student sport photography group. And so then that group is called the Backpack Squad, and they are providing me with pictures from the different events. So we've got students highlighting students that we get to show all of their work, which has been a lot of fun. Ms. Warmager over here sent me quite a few pictures last year as a member of the yearbook staff. And so that's been really fun to be able to kind of have those connections there. So looking ahead, we've got two things on the list here. As the school board and the district continues our site improvement plan, activities department specifically is completing an action card based on a formal evaluation for our head coaches. And so we're going to work in connection with our activities advisory group, with our different head coaches, with our admin to put together what that process might look like, what that formal rubric looks like, so that we can start implementing that with our fall coaches and then go beyond that. As a result of the Activities Advisory Committee earlier this week as well, we'd like to continue kind of looking at what ways we can introduce or continue to develop a relationship with a sports psychologist or just their availability to be able to work with our student athletes. We train strength, we talk about nutrition, we talk about practicing and getting our reps in. It's important that we address that mental fitness as well. And so how can we do that as a program through grants or through, we've kind of teamed up with the boosters, but looked at a few different opportunities financially. Questions for me?
As a board, are you needing help with relationships between coaches and athletes and coaches and refs and parents and coaches? I feel like I've read about a sportsmanship policy that is in Minnesota at other schools. Would that be of interest? Or is that a need in this town?
To continue to promote sportsmanship on a little bit more formal level, is that kind of what you're after?
I think it really lays out punishments, is what it does.
Sure.
Deterrence. So, in a very general question, this is what we could actually help with, right? But I don't know if it's needed or, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I certainly think it's worth discussing just what are some different ways that we can maybe be a little bit more proactive. And if we have to be reactive, in what avenues do we have? I don't know that it's necessary now, but like I said, it would be a really good, just if nothing else, brainstorming conversation to look at.
I tend to, I really like the idea because it gives our practitioners a little bit more teeth as far as expectations of behaviors, participants, parents, and everybody else. But every once in a while things pop up and you get some not so happy parents or a group of parents. But I think if you look at the entire spectrum of the number of parents that have students that are involved in activities, whether it be the arts, the academics, or athletics, I don't know if we're quite there yet, but it's definitely worthy of to investigate. And I know the board has talked about this from time to time before. We want to make sure that this is something that we all have a privilege to enjoy. And let's make sure that we act accordingly and enjoy that
It
privilege.
feels like each coach having their own handbook prior to the season is a really good idea. This is new, right? Yeah. That could literally, here are my rules to my team, right? You know.
There's been a few times already where they've been able to direct parents immediately back to the handbook or to that PAC meeting of, hey, this is already something that's been discussed, and this is how we're going to move forward with it. Anything else? Okay, thank you.
All right, next item on the agenda is the consent agenda. This is the section of the agenda that has a variety of financial reports and the minutes from motion to approve the consent agenda. Motion. Depa with the first.
Second.
Second from Schaust. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries to approve the consent agenda. Next item on the agenda is the resolution for the acceptance of gifts. Following organizations have designated funds for the following purposes. Charities Aid Foundation, $44 for the Delano Elementary School. Delano Education Foundation, $2,500 for Delano Elementary or Intermediate School STEP program. Ohio Pile Prints, $75.37 for the Delano High School, and the United Way, $500 for the Delano ECFE. All of these organizations have generously donated their funds as noted to the district's, the Delano Public School District. We appreciate their donations. This is a, do I have a motion to approve first? Okay, Baker first. Do I have a second?
Just first.
Just first.
I'll second.
Baker second. This is a roll call vote.
Board Member Roser?
Aye.
Board Member Depa?
Aye.
Board Member Baker?
Aye.
Board Member Gerke? Board Member Schaust?
Aye.
And Board Member Moroila?
Aye.
Motion carries. Resolution of gifts. Next item on the agenda is the personnel report. The report is a little lengthier than usual. This is the time when all lane change requests are submitted. There are three of note. Nicole Goldman, Megan Hovick, and Rachel Matthews have all achieved their master's degrees, which is exciting for them, and appreciate all their extra work to get to that level. And there are another 11, no, wait, more, up to 20 total people, including those three. So 17 other individuals who've moved to different lanes, all in the supporting the education and furthering their own education. So appreciate them for all that they're doing. Do I have a motion to approve the personnel report? First motion by Ryan. Do I have a second?
Second, Jim. Second, Jim.
By Jim. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Right, the motion carries. Personnel report. Next up is administrative reports. First up is Superintendent Shane.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen of the board. I'll be very, very brief. We do have some bigger presentations from other administrators that will be talking about their strategic improvement plans that they have in the buildings. We usually did all of the sites on the month October. It became the longest board meeting of the year, so we've decided to just split that up between this month and next month. I just wanted to just a very, very brief update. I will be giving more information at the next school board meeting, but our task force for the community ed building did meet with the city administrator, Phil Kern. And so we talked a little bit about just finding more information out from a perspective of the city, and still very open to looking at that. Phil's going to take about the next 2 to 4 months to have more purposeful conversations with the city council. He's going to potentially look at options of where are the needs of the city and the needs of the district, and where could they potentially converge to be one of our options as we look at the future of the community ed building. So just very preliminary, we had that meeting last week. This week or next week, it's one of the two, I think it's this week, We'll be meeting with representation from Wold Architects and Engineers, just to continue to fill that IROD document up and add more information, add more possibilities. So I should be prepared by next month to come back to the board to just move forward with some more information. We won't be tied down to any timeline. The board's agreed not to put any specific time frame involved, but knowing that we need to, continue to move and start working on this project. So that's where we're at as an update there. And the other thing is Monday, a week from today, the school calendar committee will meet to talk about the 26-27 school year. And Ms. Dahlke is graciously going to be taking that over and running that. And so we should be starting the preliminary stages of the school calendar. Noted, as Jason mentioned in last month's meeting, we do have, and it is reflective now in your board policy, and the second read, I believe, is going to be either it was last month or this month, is that we can start on September 1st. Now, it's interesting because September 1st is a Tuesday. The infinite wisdom of the legislature, wouldn't you allow school districts to start on Monday, the 31st? But they said no. And there's a little part of me that would like to influence the committee to say, let's start the 31st and see what they say. But anyways, that's why I'll leave that up to the calendar committee. But we do have that option because Labor Day next year is so late. But it's amazing to me that we don't have the opportunity to start on Monday of the week before Labor Day. So
They put it as September 1st in the.
September 1st is in statute. Is that correct, Jason?
I believe so.
Yes, it is.
It is.
And for this
We
year,
knew we didn't want to have a full week.
2 years.
2 years. 2 years?
2 years. Yeah.
That's done.
And you don't have to start before Labor Day. And some districts probably will choose not to, because that's just the way they've always done it. But I think that, exactly. Depending on when your breaks are, you can still get out in June, but you're like, there will be no winter break, there will be no spring break, there will be no Thanksgiving break. But basically, it's a good opportunity to be able to at least start before Labor Day because it's so late over the next 2 school years. And maybe the committee will entertain looking at 2 school years. Maybe planning that out, but that will be up to the committee to discuss that. The other thing is too, I did meet with Logan and Brady last week, and the possibility of potentially surveying students about the school year and when they want things to happen, and just kind of do some things. So they might be taking a look at that in the near future, and they might even be talking about it later on in their reports. But we just wanted to make sure that when you do put a school year together, we've done enough, we got enough feedback data from our parent constituents, just on when we did that all, if you remember, about a year ago, we facilitated that process. But I wanted us to make sure we started sooner rather than later. Districts seem to be moving this up further and further. It wasn't uncommon when I first started as superintendent that we possibly, the board wouldn't even approve a school calendar until March, which nowadays just seems like painfully too late. So who knows, depending on how the work goes, might be bringing this to you, maybe in a couple of months. Work session it quickly and board act on it, whichever it may be. But just to let you know, we're going to be looking at already next year. It seems like we just got started. Now we're going to look at the next school year. We're getting a calendar.
Is it that Waconia started August 25th?
They got probably a major building project. In statute, if you have a building project that's $400,000 or more, you automatically can start before. So back in our construction days, we started before Labor Day and ended very quickly in May to have the biggest window to do construction work.
Gotcha.
That concludes my report for this evening.
Okay. Next up, principal is Ms. Thompson.
Evening, ladies and gentlemen of the board. Thank you for having me this evening to present to you for the intermediate school about what's been happening with us in the month of September. Obviously, the most exciting thing is that we have kids back in the building. So our first couple weeks at the intermediate school, our focus is on just teaching those school-wide expectations and learning routines. But something new that we did this year was our fourth graders started with Meet the Teacher Days, similar to the elementary school. We haven't done that in the past, so we did that this year for the first time. We got some really positive feedback from teachers, just in feeling like that was a better way for them to get to know their kids and their families. And then we'll be sending a survey out to parents to see kind of their thoughts on how that went. But overall, it felt like a nice way just to welcome families to the building. It's an interesting setup for us because we do also have students in session. So it's not really the same as the elementary school. There's not the freedom to move around the building. So there's some logistics there to work with. But it was in general just a nice way to start the year, I thought. So we'll get some feedback from parents on that as well. For our site-based team this month, we just met to kind of debrief thoughts on workshop week, thoughts on the first week of school. We talked a little bit about workshop week and just appreciating the amount of time in classrooms. We always try to prioritize giving staff time to work in their classrooms as much as possible to get ready for the upcoming school year. We added a district-wide de-escalation training for our staff this year that Emily Hilbling presented, so staff really appreciated that. She had some great information to share. We also added some para training time this year. We had gotten some feedback that paras are always in need of additional training time also. There's a lot of just online trainings and things they need to do in addition to preparing to work with their kids and look at schedules. So just a few things that we added district-wide workshop week to meet some of the needs of our staff. For professional development this month, we've had our first early release. It used to be late starts, and so I'm going to call it that over and over until I get used to it, but it was an early release. Our main focus for that time, we have staff still doing the letters training, and then we have a lot of staff working on the new math curriculum. ELA standards are going to be tested for the first time this year with a new MCA test. So we just have a lot of curriculum work to do during that time. So that'll be our focus this year for our early release work. Monica Kunkel led a session for our staff on bundling standards and looking at some of those things. For our MTSS work, we finished our fast testing. Obviously, we do that every September. It's our universal screener that we use to identify where kids need to fall for interventions. So after they take their test, our MTSS team looks at that data and works to place kids in appropriate interventions. I'm excited to share that as of today, we have a math core tutor. We've been looking for one of those all summer long. So just excited to have some additional resources for our kids. So that'll be great. She'll be starting later in October. And then finally, I'll just share some upcoming events. We have an exciting week this week with homecoming. Our student council organizes some dress-up days for kids. And then on Friday, the high schoolers come on over and we do a fun pep fest. And our sixth graders won't be there. Our sixth graders will be at Eagle Bluff this week. They leave on Wednesday for that trip, which is exciting for them. So that's always a fun trip. And it makes our gym less crowded when we have the pep fest. So I feel like it all works out really well. So we've got a big week. It's going to be fun. And just to note, on the district calendar, our sixth graders do not have school on Monday to kind of accommodate for that time teachers spend. So that's on the district calendar. Just even if kids don't go to Eagle Bluff, no school for sixth graders on that Monday. And then we're moving into October already. We've got conferences coming up. Our theme for the month of October is kindness. So we do things like our Kindness in Chalk Day. We do Unity Day. And it's hard to believe that's next week already. It's flying by. Comments or questions for the intermediate school? Great, thank you.
Great. Thanks, Mr. Boyd.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen of the board. It's a pleasure to present to you the high school continuous improvement plan. Obviously, we have worked diligently as a site-based leadership team to match our continuous improvement plan with the newly adopted strategic plan. So this first slide here shows you obviously something you're very familiar with. This is the strategic roadmap that was adopted by the school board over the summer. And I'm happy to report, as you see in upcoming slides, you'll see a lot of alignment between what we're doing at the high school and what has been adopted by the board. So I certainly won't read through that with you. You're all familiar with that. This doesn't work, right? Next slide. The purpose of our plan is continuous improvement, of course. That's been a motto of ours ever since I've been in the district. We certainly want to align our work with the strategic plan. And the nice thing about the strategic plan is that it fits nicely with the 3 goals that have been at place at the high school, at least since my arrival over 5 years ago. And we have 3 big goals. First and foremost is providing a safe and welcoming school environment. Second is to rigorously challenge our students. And third is to support individual students' needs. These are the goals that I share with our staff during August workshops. And I've also presented these to all of our students and asked them to partner with us in pursuit of these 3 goals. So safe and welcoming environment, rigorously challenge student thinking, and then supporting individual student needs, which I think if you were to go back in the slides, which I don't think we need to do, but if you were, you would see a lot of alignment between the strategic directions and our high school goals. So that brings us to our action cards, and here is just an overview of the 5 that we have at the high school level. You can see the 5th one there, activities. Ms. Chatterton, during her activities presentation, already spoke about coaching development and evaluation. So I'll focus on the first 4 and just talk about where we're at in terms of our stage of implementation, but then also what some of the major action strategies are. Feel free at any time to ask questions or interject if you have thoughts or comments. First one is 7th and 8th grade class meetings. So this is kind of in that realm of safe and welcoming environment. We've noticed over the past couple of years that a lot of discipline incidents have occurred kind of in that 7th, 8th grade, and even 9th grade band. So we wanted to really focus on instilling the Tiger Way with our students, particularly in 7th and 8th grade. And the reason we're focused on 7th and 8th grade, obviously those are very important formative years, but it's also years in which they have their classes all year long. So we can steal, if you will, some of their win time to facilitate some of these class meetings. This is in change management, which means that we're in the business of doing this right now. Coincidentally, I had our first class meeting this morning. That was with 7th graders after lunch. And so each of the months that we host a class meeting, we're going to be talking about a new element of the Tiger Way. So today was teamwork, coincided very well with homecoming week, of course. So we talked a lot about teamwork. And in each of our meetings, we talk about, or we will be talking about how teamwork, inclusion, grit, excellence, and respect are all interrelated themes, the soft skills that are really going to, in many ways, make that student successful in the future, in addition to, of course, the content knowledge and all of those things. You can see on the right-hand side there is sort of a vision of completion and then some important action steps. I have coordinated very intentionally with our school counselors, with our Tiger Tracks advisors. Coincidentally, that's another one of our action cards, but just making sure that we're coordinating our messages. And in the coming days, some of our parents, specifically our 7th and 8th grade parents, are going to receive some information about what the theme of that presentation was and what some of the talking points were that they can also be reinforced with their students at home. We want to be very intentional about sharing our story and helping parents to then also make connections with their students at home. So again, I won't read through each one of those action steps for you, but there's been a lot of coordination. This is just another important piece that we added in. Jody Frederickson, our counselor, goes into classes monthly, or at least almost monthly, to reinforce ideas similar to the Tiger Way. We have advisory program as well, which is our social emotional learning sort of curriculum. Tiger Tracks is going to be another layer, but we wanted this 7th and 8th grade class meeting so that all students were getting the same message and getting a cohesive message about the importance of the Tiger Way. One of the fun things that we did during our class meeting this morning was as I asked teachers to essentially nominate students or share examples of things that they saw over the course of these previous 3 weeks relative to the Tiger Way, and we actually got to call those kids out and kind of applaud for them and encourage and congratulate them for demonstrating the Tiger Way. So that is action card number 1, 7th and 8th grade class meetings. Closely related to that is the Tiger Tracks induction program. And I won't maybe go into too much depth with that because I know Mr. Schauberger during the workshop or the work session today talked about that as part of the wellness goals that we have as a district. And you'll see, I think, as we digest a lot of our action cards, you'll see a lot of kind of synergy between them. They're all very closely aligned and related. I've noted that this action card is really in the change readiness / change management phase of implementation, because there's pieces of it that we are really trying to decipher and figure out and plan for, but then there's also pieces that we're going to be in the midst of doing over the course of the school year. In short, we want a very comprehensive and cohesive induction program to welcome our 7th graders into the high school. Transitioning between school buildings is a potentially anxiety provoking endeavor, right? Coming into the 7th grade, being a 7-12 high school, there might be a lot of nerves, right? There's some uneasiness. We want to make that transition as smooth as possible. So there are essentially one half of Tiger Tracks that is geared toward all students. What can we do for maybe a summer play day, hosting tours, registration information sessions, all of those things that can be done for the whole group. And then the other piece, which is really kind of that readiness piece, is how can we identify our at-risk students that really need some additional support? We have aspirations of employing sort of a big brother, big sister type program. And so our first step, and it might not be listed in this part of the action card because I can only take a relatively small snippet, but we are trying to identify some sophomores, juniors, and seniors who would be a good role model, good big brother, big sister, and then provide some training to them so that we're ready to go for next year and we can kind of layer that part of the Tiger Tracks induction program in. I do want to shout out to the Education Foundation because they are sponsoring this program. And so our advisors for this program are paid for by the Delano Education Foundation. So thanks to those folks for generously supporting this program. Our next action card is relative to data-driven decision-making. And that's kind of a broad, maybe somewhat vague term. But as you know, of course, we have adopted EduClimber as a data warehouse system across the district. And we are in the process of change management very closely in coordination with the EduClimber action card that our district MTSS team is managing. So we have mapped out over the course of our monthly early releases to really provide some training to our staff to utilize the EduClimber system to make actionable decisions based on the data that we're seeing. I know that you have heard from Katie and Rachel at the elementary and the intermediate school before about analysis to action templates and forms that they fill out. When their students have completed their fast testing, we have a very specific process where we take a look at the data and then make informed decisions about where to go to next. We are a little bit delayed in terms of that piece of the data-driven decision making, so that's where we're going to be putting our efforts this year during our early releases, is really kind of taking a look at the data and what is the data telling us. We kind of covered 3 action cards real quick. I'll just pause there for a moment for questions if anybody has any. All right, our next action card is related to AI policy and strategies. So last year we were fortunate to partner with Groovy Education during a couple of our late starts, and we engaged in some very powerful professional development related to artificial intelligence. And it's really kind of on 2 fronts. Number one, what it can do for us as educators and how we can get better and more efficient in our work. But then also, how can we leverage that with students? As of now, we really don't have district policy related to artificial intelligence, and we also haven't devoted the time and energy to integrate the application of artificial intelligence into our students' experience. We believe across the board at the high school that our educational program should be relevant for students. And Logan and Brady, for the rest of their lives, are going to be interacting with artificial intelligence. They'll probably be tapping its power in whatever future professions they choose. So we need to get better both at understanding it and applying it ourselves, but then also how can we nurture students' appropriate use of artificial intelligence? And so Jason Monkey is going to facilitate our ad hoc committee that's going to be doing a lot of research into what is out there in terms of artificial intelligence policy, what's sort of on the cutting edge of strategies. And in addition to that, We are still connected with Groovy Education, and they are partnering with us over the course of this school year, for sure, at least through December, and then for interested stakeholders through the rest of the year in some monthly access to tips and tricks, but also a training portal. Next, and again, activities, this is the action card that Megan spoke about, and this was really about just providing a more cohesive environment to develop and evaluate our coaches, which as of yet has not really been cohesive, it's not been consistent, so now we're just trying to kind of ground our work with our coaches in the same way that we do our teachers, right? Our teacher development and evaluation program is not, it's not just about evaluation, it's about coaching and support, and so we're basically trying to replicate that in an appropriate way with our coaches. So that is the sum of our action cards with our new strategic planning process. So that describes our continuous improvement plan at Delano High School. I would be more than happy to answer any questions that anyone has about that or anything else related to the high school for that matter.
I think one of my questions around high school pertains to last year school year you were working on, and it also aligns with your strategic plan, but bringing in college level classes, how is that going? Have you had a bunch of students interested, or is there any?
Yeah, so we have all of the same college level courses that we offered previously. We are still offering. We are actually this year, this is dating back to when I was starting to talk and present this to you back in February and March. So we are offering sections of College in the Schools algebra. We have increased our College in the Schools Spanish to 3 trimesters this year. And this might be year 2 of College in the Schools Sociology. Year 1, this is year 1 of College in the Schools Sociology. So we have offered 3 additional courses with our concurrent enrollment program.
Great, and have they had a great turnout?
Yeah, so I think we're offering like 2 sections of college algebra. There's one section that's trimesters 1 and 2, and then we'll have another one start trimester 2 and 3. I think we maybe have 3 or 4 sociology courses. We have 1 College in the Schools Spanish course, which has been consistent. So we've historically only had, well, it's kind of fluctuated between 1 and 2 CIS Spanish classes. I think for the last 2 years we've had 1, so we have 1 again this year. The difference is for Spanish, at least, is before this year it was only 2 trimesters, sorry. So it was like 1 college class that was worth 5 credits. This year it's 3 trimesters, but you get 2 college classes for a total of 10 credits through the U of M for that course. So yeah. Thank you.
Next, Ms. Schultz again.
Oh. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen of the board. I'm here to present our continuous improvement plan on more of an overview level for you all this evening. Just to note though, that every student matters, every moment counts. That's really what grounds us at the elementary school, and we want to make sure whatever it is that we're implementing is touching every student and that it's meaningful and impactful. So that really kind of supports our work ahead. Like Mr. Voigt had shared as well, the strategic roadmap, which you all are familiar with, aligns directly with the goals that we set forth for our school. So you're familiar with this. The piece that I think is a driving force for us, you can go to the next slide, Mr. Jane, is aligning with the district strategic plan, excuse me, but it's driven by the core values of Tiger at Delano Public Schools. So we want to make sure that we are always striving for excellence, building that teamwork, the belonging and the grit, and that is for students, but it is also for staff and a lot of the collaborative groups that we have to meet our goals. All of those things come through when we're working. So I did just kind of put that key up there as far as when we're referring to change readiness, change management. It's just nice. It's new terms for us as well. So sometimes it's like, is this readiness or is this management? So it's nice to just kind of have that as the reminder of where are we exactly. And sometimes it does seem to fall in maybe 1 or 2 categories, and the learning work is clearer in that it's that exploration piece. So we have the aligned data-driven instruction, SEL practices, the structured special ed settings, processes and responses, and then the curriculum support and implementation for our big action cards. And then, the learning work initiatives, I just think are important to maintain also. We don't have as much of a status bar check for those, but that's sort of like what else is out there that we can focus on, because those are the two, transitional kindergarten and looking at our master schedule to review that, as I had mentioned in the work session, would impact some of the action cards. So the aligned data-driven instruction is just really ensuring that we're making decisions based on what we know about the students. How are they performing in reading and math with our screeners, and what supports do we have in place based on what we're seeing the needs are. So obviously we have our goals of what we want, and then there's some of the barriers or maybe roadblocks or things that we have to work around, but that's what the staff and the teams that are in charge of these cards to get to their fruition are kind of gauging and working on. The SEL instructional practices are a direct relation to how kids are showing up at school, how they, face adversity when things don't go their way. They want to keep playing, but it's actually time to do some work. How are we going to navigate that? Some of these kids have not been in a school setting until they step foot in and start kindergarten. So that's a learning curve, and that takes patience and it takes some skills, and our teachers are charged with that task as well, and they do a marvelous job of that. So there's lots of different resources out there to support kids. So we needed to narrow kind of what are we focusing, and let's get really good at that, and let's find out how we can respond efficiently to those SEL needs. And then our special education setting and responses, and how we go through systematically shifting kids' needs, making changes. If there's adjustments to any IEPs or their setting changes, we need to make sure, while providing that data privacy, that everybody that's working with those kids understands what that means, including the parents, and why we're making these decisions so we can effectively meet the complex needs that they are coming with. And then the curriculum support and implementation, we are working with Monica Kunkel, and just recently at a cabinet meeting, we had an opportunity, not cabinet, ALT, meeting to set some quarterly meetings with Monica Kunkel, our curriculum coordinator, which I think is a really good natural first step in meeting this action card goal, to have some more open communication of the roles and responsibilities of, we have a big curriculum implementation coming. How are we navigating that? What does that look like? Do we have the time, the place, the plan, so that teachers feel ready? Because we've had everyday math for 30 years, and now we're getting a new curriculum. So that is going to be great, but it is also going to be new. So teachers have become very familiar with one curriculum, and changing to something new is going to, it's a learning curve. And so we want them to feel prepared and ready, but they are excited about it. Questions?
I know, there's a bit of redundancy here. We talked about this when we were planning and moving schedules around. Obviously, this is a little bit more of a higher level view. You guys had an opportunity as a board to dive deep into it during the work session and take some good time and ask some good questions on how we're doing in each of these action cards. But this was obviously meant to just let our public know that you can tell that from each site in each building, you're going to see that alignment. And you're going to see the alignment not only with your governance plan in the 4 quadrants, the alignment of their action cards, the alignment of whether it's change readiness, change management, or they're still in that learning process, or whatever the case may be, to move things through the system. And that's been, in my view, as the superintendent, is we work together and coordinate all of these to keep this language seamless is going to be good. And so my hope is when you have this information presented to you, you're going to see similarities. But I know that during the work session, you saw a deeper dive, so this was a little bit redundant, but that's for our public out there, the massive amounts of people that are watching our stream.
Thank you. Anything else? Good. All right.
Next on the agenda is.
Sorry, I don't have my report linked. Had it done this morning, but we lost the internet. But just an update, not much changed. salaries and benefits for certified staff for the July and August. We're still booked back into last year, but we have our audit coming up on October 6th. So at your next board meeting, I will have the budget report that you see, should have updated fund balances for FY '25, and then we won't have a major budget revision done yet for FY '26, but that will probably happen in November. But in November, during the work session, we'll go through a little deeper dive into '24-25, where we were budgeted, how we ended up, and the differences as to why we were, for the discrepancies there. So any questions? I'll also give an updated enrollment projection at that time, or next month as well. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, thanks for having me. Tonight, I'm going to talk a little bit about community education and what the month of September has looked like for us. With having no internet today, we took a little bit of an opportunity to do some cleaning, and I found these old time cards from Delano. So they are now our notepads because I think they're super cool. So here's my notes. In the last month, it's hard to believe that we're already starting our 4th week of preschool and our 4th week of before and after school TKC and our 2nd week of early childhood family ed. For the first month for us, we really focus on R&R. And it's not rest and relaxation, it's relationships and routines. We have a lot of new kids, a lot of very young kids, and you can tell they're young kids when the backpacks are as big as they are. But they're so proud to carry them in. And so really what we want to do is build the relationship with the kids, get to know them, but more importantly, have them get to know us. Get down on their level so that they are comfortable saying, "Hi, Miss Abby," in the hallway, and so that they're feeling like they can trust and be excited about coming to preschool every day. I always stand in the hallways those first couple of days and see how many criers do we have? How is it going? And I only saw one mom needing to be carried out. And she's like, "It'll be just fine." And husband was helping her out. But besides that, we had right away after school started, we had a very successful middle school play production for Annie. If you had a chance to go to it, we are still gathering the numbers, but I went Friday night and there was hardly a seat available. It was true testament of the talent that we have in our school district. So it was very fun to see. Coming up, looking ahead for early childhood family education, on October 11th, we have a free Fall Family Fun Day from 10 to 11 at the Community Ed Building. It's for all families with kids ages birth through 5, family-friendly costumes, nothing scary, but an opportunity to come and take pictures and do a scavenger hunt and do some crafts. And it really is an awesome event for kids to kind of get into that fall spirit. Even though we're in the mid-70s, we know it'll turn colder, so we enjoy what we can while we can. Also in September, we had our first advisory council meeting, our Community Ed Advisory Council meeting, which was fabulous. We had a full attendance. And some of the things we focus on are, for the size of the school district, I really think we can handle a larger Community Ed Advisory Council. So we talked about how can we make sure that we're meeting our community and we are mirroring our community and bringing in new members. We talked about some future meetings and really some ways that the Advisory Council can be interactive and collaborative, not just sit and get. So we have another meeting coming up here in a couple weeks. I'm excited to see where it goes. Really for me, the last month and the next several months is really kind of about that settling in and getting to know my staff and doing staff connections. So every other week I meet with our coordinators one-on-one for an hour each. And it just gives us a time to talk about goals, talk about struggles, talk about aspirations, talk about ways that we can look backwards and plan forwards. And I think it's extremely important because when I came in, I said my dedication this first year is to really listen and learn. And this is that opportunity to do that. We have times as groups, but I think it's very important to have times one-on-one. And so that takes up a large amount of time, but I think it's really what my job is. I'm here to support them, and the time that they're here, I can do my stuff later. So I think that's been going really well, and I think it's leading to conversations where we're staying curious. We're saying, what if we try it like this? What if we do something different or new, or fill in the blank? But it really is, for me, about kind of that settling in, making sure that we're supporting staff. And we hired a number of new staff this year. So not only am I new, but we've got new teachers, new assistants, new paras. And so it's kind of been a team building for everybody. And really what we're at the end of the day, we're really trying to focus on our annual theme. And that is impact. What's your impact? And staff appreciation, student appreciation, those are kind of at the core of that. So we are going to be creating a whole wall board in one of the hallways that's all focused about our impact. And so it's going to have staff bios and staff opportunities to recognize each other with a shout out. And it seems small, but we're going to attach some celebrations to it. But when you think about those little ripples and how they make big waves, when we start with a small number of these and we showcase what it looks like throughout the year, we're really hoping for some big waves. Also, we designed postcards that we can show students how they're having an impact on us, and they're going to get their very own Tiger mail filled out by a staff or a teacher and sent home. So they get to get that in their mailbox, and we're hoping we see some of those come back too. Here again, focusing on our impact. Coming up, we have preschool conferences. Like I had mentioned, we have the Fall Family Fun. We're celebrating this week with dress-up days. I wore a robe, but thought I should maybe not wear the robe to the school board meeting. But it was fun seeing little kids come in their comfy clothes and their pajamas. At the same time, it was also preschool pictures. We're going to see some great pictures this year. Yeah, it's always fun. It's always fun to look at them and, you know, oh, there's a dinosaur. At the same time, you've got pearls and headbands. And so it just kind of, it's all over, and we love it because you can always tell when they're so excited. As a closing, I'm going to say that as we talk about themes, I'm excited to share that TKC, our school age care coordinator, Rachel Wallace, thought of an amazing idea for next summer for Tiger Kids Club. The theme is all going to be about the 150th birthday of Delano and the Susquehanna Centennial. So she's going to focus everything on local, on railroads, on history, on, you know, the different aspects of Delano, and really just appreciating where we are in the community that we live in. So I'm super excited to see what that brings for the summer and those kids, and the ways that we can collaborate with the Susquehanna Centennial Committee, the city, and I hope I'm saying that right because being recorded, it's got to be close. The 150th. We're excited to see where that goes. Any questions for me tonight? All right, thank you.
All right. Next up for the first report of the school year from Logan, and welcome Brady May.
Yeah, it seems like it's been a short 3 months since I saw you guys last. In these first few weeks, Brady and I have gotten the chance to collaborate for the first time. Welcome Brady on the school board. We got to meet with all 3 principals. At the elementary, we continue to collaborate with our NHS and our elementary students. I know last year we had a spreadsheet that Westfall helped us organize, and although she's not in the classroom anymore, she sent me that. So we're continuing to revamp that spreadsheet and continue to collaborate with the elementary and NHS members. We just really, our goal is to keep a really open line of communication. If an elementary school or teachers need anything at any time, they can hopefully, we can be the first ones that they reach out to. With the homecoming celebration coming up, high schoolers are really excited. It's fun to hear high schoolers almost fight with each other about who gets to read in what classroom, and see, oh, my little siblings in this one and my little cousins in this one. So that's always, it's a really fun time for us to be able to go back to the elementary school and, you know, give back in that way of just reading. Up at the intermediate school, we're excited to continue our collaboration with the student council. They have a really strong and really impressive student council at the intermediate school. Honestly, nothing like we have at the high school. So it's cool to be able to go down and just honestly interact with those future leaders of the high school, continue helping them with anything they need. I know, as Ms. Thompson mentioned, they have some fun homecoming festivities that they plan this week in terms of selling goodies and Tiger Pride and all that. I've heard from a lot of 7th graders and some 7th grade parents that the transition from 6th to 7th went pretty well. I joked around with Miss Thompson. There was no crying seventh graders I saw in the hallways at all. So that's always a good sign. And like Mr. Boyd mentioned, we were hoping sometime in the next few weeks to almost do a survey / questionnaire of the seventh graders. We're not thinking that it's going to be super like survey sent out in an email, but maybe just going around lunch and kind of just asking the seventh graders, interacting with them, what went well with your transition? What did you not so much like? Were there some nerves? Were you confused? Just kind of a conversation to get that kind of line of communication open, and also just to welcome them to the building and check in and see how they're doing. In terms of the high school, Brady and I got the opportunity to send out a survey to our high school students. We're still trying to collect that data and kind of get a spreadsheet of all of our results. So we're hoping to present that to you guys next month at the meeting. Some of the general things that we saw from it so far were notes on advisory, notes on school lunch, obviously, and then a few comments on how they liked the early release instead of a late start. So it's good to get positive feedback on that. Other than that, homecoming week for the high school is in full swing. You see the hallways decorated. That was done by our student council at the high school, which is pretty cool. And lastly, we had a meeting with Mr. Shane, and we went over kind of just our goals for this year. Like you said, we are hoping to gather a group of students and get their feedback on the calendar. He brought to our attention that we've done parents and family surveys in the past, but we've never really checked in on students. And I think it is really important to get some student feedback on what they want their schedule to look like, seeing as though we're the ones in school. So we're hoping to get that organized and report those findings back to Mr. Shane. Overall, Brady and I are kind of still in the brainstorming part of what our goals and what our focus is this year. But if any of you board members have any feedback or input on what you want to see from us this year, or any main points that you want us to focus on, we'd love to hear them. Any questions?
Thank you.
Yeah.
Great, next up, board reports. First, Masiko.
Yeah, so we had our August Masiko meeting, and as usual, it's a low kind of, it's not that busy of a time preparing for school, finalizing staffing issues, which can be challenging based on the numbers. Staffing has to change based on student numbers. So we got a report on where we sit with staffing. We actually have our September meeting tomorrow night, so there'll be a more, I think, finalized update on that then. We worked through our executive director goals and approved Melissa's goals for the school year and what she'll be working on. Probably the only one, they had staff development at the beginning of the year, had an all-staff meeting and a speaker, and that was well received. Probably the biggest thing to note financially is, and maybe I've mentioned this before, but Masiko pre-bills to the member districts for the school year based on predicted utilization. So that number had been 80 to 85% of the predicted utilization. That got moved up to 90%. That was approved by the superintendents and the business managers. So the 7 member districts have paid their 90% utilization pre-billing. That is in an effort to soften the cash flow issues that Masiko runs into as the year goes on, because we know that special ed billing sort of runs in hindsight. So it's important that, of course, it goes without saying that Masiko can pay its staff and maintain its cash flow throughout the school year. So that number was, like I said, approved and has been paid and is, I know, appreciated by the financial staff of Masiko greatly. So yeah, we have our next meeting tomorrow night. Any questions?
Sarah? If I remember right, I'm not sure if there's a...
We had a first time, we didn't have 5 members available, so we had no meeting. So we will have a double meeting on the 7th. So, odd, but what are you gonna do? It fell on a strange day. It was like the day after Labor Day or something, and people just weren't available. So no big deal. We'll have it. Double meeting next meeting.
Under old business, we have 4 policies up for second review. Is there anyone here for public comment for unpaid meal charges, assessment of student achievement, Literacy and Read Act, or online instruction? Okay. There being none, we'll move through approving those individually. Do I have a motion to approve the second read of policy 534, unpaid meal charges? Motion by Jess. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Baker. Second by Sarah. Any discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries to approve unpaid meal charges. Next policy, for the approval of the second read of policy 618, assessment of student achievement. Do I have a motion to approve this policy? Defa made the motion. Do I have a second? Shoust, second. Any discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries to approve the policy 618, assessment of student achievement. Next policy is to approve the second read of policy 621, Literacy and Read Act. Do I have a motion to approve this policy? Depa made the motion. Second. Second by Baker. Any discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries to approve policy 621. Next, the second read of policy 624, online instructions. Do I have a motion to approve the second read of this policy? Shouse made the motion. Do I have a second? Second. Baker. Second by Baker. Any discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries to approve the second read of policy 624. On to new business. The first item of new business is the approval of the 2025 pay 2026 property tax levy. We discussed this briefly in work session. Mary?
Yep, so this is the document that will be approved and signed by the board tonight. It just lets the county know that we're going to max the possible levy certification that would be available to us. And so they'll work on getting that all finalized before the final date in December that we will approve at the board level on December 15th. But there's just 2, this goes in as the proposed, and then the final goes in December.
Mary. Do we have a motion to approve the 2025 pay 2026 property tax levy, the proposed limitation and certification? Jim made the motion. Do we have a second?
Second, Shoust.
Second by Shoust. Any discussion? This is a regular vote.
Yes.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries to approve the 2025 pay 2026 proposed levy limitation. The next item is to set the date, time, and location of the Truth and Taxation meeting for Monday, December 15th at 7 p.m. here in the Delano High School Tiger Den.
So that will be the program review for the December board meeting. And then later that evening, you'll be approving the final certified levy.
We have a motion to approve the date, time, and location of the Truth and Taxation meeting.
So moved.
So move, for motion made by Sarah.
Second.
Shoust.
Second by Shoust. Lots of excitement around this. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, motion carries December 15th for the Truth and Taxation meeting. All right, the next item is to approve a significant list of first and only read policies. Is there anyone here for public comment for the following policies? Number 205, open and closed meetings. 404, employment background checks. 405, veterans preference. 407, employee right to know, exposure to hazardous substances. 415, mandating reporting of maltreatment of vulnerable adults. 420 students and employees with sexually transmitted infections and diseases and other communicable diseases and infectious conditions. 424 licensed status, and 508 extended school year for certain students with individualized education plans due to review schedule. Is there anyone here for public comment for those? All right, if none, then we're looking for a motion to approve the policies that I just listed. Yep, made the motion. Do I have a second? Jim? Seconded. Any discussion?
I ask you to read those again.
Did you need clarification?
No.
Remember? All right. All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? All right, motion carries to approve the policies listed in section 13C. Next item is to approve the first read of policy 210, conflict of interest for school board members due to substantive changes. Jason Monkey presented this during our work session today. Is there anyone here for public comment for this policy? If not, anyone, I'll entertain a motion to approve the policy for the first read of this policy. So motion made by Jess, second. Joust, a second. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries to approve the first read of the conflict of interest for school board members. Last item on the agenda is adjournment. Do I have a motion to adjourn? Depa made the motion. Do I have a second? Moira made the second. Any discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Okay, we are adjourned. Thank you, everyone.